We learned about Paul Robeson in school. We learned about Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and Benjamin Banneker and Martin Luther King. And if you were really stretching it, you learned about Malcolm X. So you had the 8 to 10 blacks. But Paul Robeson, black or white, red or yellow, in the history of the United States, I would argue with anyone that would want to have this discussion that he did more things excellently than any person we've ever had in this country. Paul Robeson was the son of a runaway slave, born in 1898. He got a scholarship because he had placed third in the oratorial contest to go to Rutgers University. There was only one black at the school, so he was the second black at Rutgers. 15 letters, 4 football, 4 baseball, 3 basketball, 4 track and field. While all this is going on, 2 blacks at the school, he was a valedictorian. He went on to Columbia Law School, graduated Columbia Law School, was practicing at a firm in New York, and the secretaries wouldn't take dictation from him. So he quit. He ended up doing some theater at his wife's amateur theater company, Harlem YMCA theater company, and he was discovered, I guess, by Eugene O'Neill. He became extremely well known internationally. The song "Old Man River" was written for him. So whenever you hear, that's Paul Robeson, it was written for him, and he did Showboat in London when it opened, then he did it on Broadway in the States, and he also did the 1934 movie.
There's an old man called the Mississippi, that's the old man that I'd like to be. What does he care if the world's got troubles? What does he care if the land ain't free?
While he was living in London, he visited Russia a number of times. And while there, he grew an affinity for the Soviet Union because he said there they treated him like an equal. Mm-hmm. He said he couldn't get treated equal at his own home. But at the peace conference in Paris in 1949, and he said something about he didn't understand why a black person would go fight a war against Russia. Because why fight against somebody that would treat you better than the person you're fighting for? Well, that didn't sit well back here in the States, nor did it sit well with whites or blacks. Because blacks were thinking, he can't speak for us, and whites, of course, weren't going to have that kind of statement. It wasn't in the best interest of the United States for Paul Robeson to go abroad. They took away his passport in 1950, and they took away his passport for 8 years. 8 years they took away his passport. He did concerts here, but he was blacklisted in many places. He just couldn't perform. And major depression, suicide attempt. He actually landed in an asylum and had like 54 ECTs, shock treatments. That's a lot of shock treatments. And he basically became a shell of himself. Came back to the United States, and that was a year and a half. He was basically in and out of the asylum. Came back to the States in '63. His wife died in '65. He lived with his sister in Philadelphia, pretty much as a recluse, until he died at 76.
A time of joy.